GBC began its live television broadcast at 11 this morning from Grand Battery House, with senior broadcast journalist Jonathan Sacramento joining me on set to quiz MPs, while Shalina Asamal was our roving reporter in Casemates. The Foreign Secretary James Cleverly made a casual appearance whilst on holiday with his family, and so he declined the opportunity to speak to us.
Does your presence here show support for treaty negotiations?
As I say, we're just here on holiday, but thank you.
He did, however, post this video on social media, which was played during the political rally.
So I'm here in Casemates Square in Gibraltar with the family on holiday, but also taking the opportunity to join you celebrating a National Day. So have a wonderful weekend, have a huge amount of fun, and thank you for being such a great friend to the United Kingdom.
The Deputy Chief Minister, Dr. Joseph Garcia, spoke about the possibilities for a no-negotiated outcome.
There could be different varieties or variations, rather, of no treaty. One of them could be a
no-deal deal.
Exactly. Well, one of them could be a kind of more positive one, where Spain, Gibraltar, UK decide to talk and to make this as easy as possible for all our citizens. One obvious way of doing that was to have more crossing points. So rather than have everything channeled through one narrow funnel at the border, have 3 or 4 of these, or 10, or whatever that you might need. So there's different ways of doing it. And then there is the sort of outright no deal, where we just simply drop out of the European Union, as would have happened, let me say, a long time ago, more than 2 years ago. If we had left and there'd been no negotiations, no treaty, no bridging measures, we would have felt the full force of leaving the European Union at the end of 2020 and the beginning of 2021. We haven't. We've had bridging measures. They've saved Gibraltar from that position. They've allowed Gibraltar to prepare for any eventuality. We are as ready as we can be. As I say, it's impossible to provide 100% cover, but we are as ready as we can be. So we understand what you're saying. There could be different varieties of no negotiated outcome. We need to wait and see what happens as we go forward.
Yes, we have quite a few MPs coming. I think it's always important to have them. I understand that some people have their own views about whether they should or shouldn't come, and I especially understand that when there are some MPs who are coming after having voted in favour of Brexit. But that having happened, we need to have as much support as we possibly can across the spectrum in the United Kingdom. And for that reason, I think it's very important to have visiting MPs to show them who we are, to help them better understand our issues.
I think most of us knew exactly what we were doing, and what we wanted was a long-term objective, which is that the United Kingdom should be able to make its own laws and have its own destiny in its own hands. Now, of course, in the short term, there was some friction, some difficulty in the UK, and still I'm conscious there's some difficulty to be resolved in Gibraltar. Northern Ireland, we made a lot of progress earlier this year. Rishi Sunak negotiating the Windsor Framework. These are things that need to be tidied up. But yes, of course, we are responsible for it.
Opposition leader Keith Azzopardi rejected the Together Gibraltar leader's suggestion that he did not have control of his party.
I do have control of my party, but I'm a Democrat, and the idea that a political leader, a leader of any political party, always gets his particular way, always gets every single decision through an executive is complete nonsense. It happens to Fabian Picardo. It happened to Peter Caruana several times when I was a member of his government and a member of the GSD. So it's an extraordinary proposition to say that someone should always get his decisions through. That's called dictatorship. And I don't run a political party in North Korea.
But to be clear, you would have liked to have pushed that merger through.
It wasn't a merger. What I put forward was a proposal for an alliance. There was a very careful debate, and it was a very, very narrow vote. So a lot of my colleagues in the GSD also supported it. So
the political rally got underway with Francis Cipollina singing the traditional anthem. This was followed by the speeches. Peter Biggs from the Falkland Islands said there was strength in unity, before a message was played by the UK Shadow Foreign Secretary, David Lammy.
Wishing the people of Gibraltar a very happy National Day, and it's a chance for me to reiterate the importance of the sovereignty of Gibraltar. It's a cherished part of Britain's global community, and to be absolutely clear that the self-determination of the Gibraltar people is fundamental to their future. I support, of course, the Spain, EU, UK dialogue going forward. But today, I wish you a very happy National Day.
While Sir Bob Neal had a message for our neighbours.
Let's give a big cheer that they're going to hear in Madrid. Long live British Gibraltar!
Followed by the SDGG's annual call for Gibraltar's right to self-determination. Last to speak in a passionate address was Fabian Picardo in what could be his last National Day as Chief Minister, with an election imminent. He paid tribute to loved ones who were no longer around, in particular those who had succumbed to COVID. He also read out National Day messages from King Charles III, as well as Prime Minister Rishi Sunak.
I can assure you, says the Prime Minister, that the UK government will never enter into arrangements under which the people of Gibraltar would pass under the sovereignty of another state against their freely and democratically expressed wishes. And he goes on to say, and we will also never enter into a process of sovereignty negotiations with which Gibraltar is not content. The UK and Gibraltar are joined by an enduring bond. We may be geographically separated, but Gibraltar is a precious part of the UK family within our great Commonwealth. On Gibraltar's National Day, we celebrate that and we look forward together. Happy National Day to all. Rishi Sunak.
Joining us on set after the rally, the Shadow Armed Forces Minister, the Governor and Sir Bob Neal. But first, Mr Picardo had high praise for the Foreign Secretary.
But James Cleverly is special. James Cleverly was Minister for Europe, and he was already into the Gibraltar brief. And before he was even a Member of Parliament, when he was involved in the London Assembly, he was very interested in Gibraltar. I will tell you something, he's been to Gibraltar on a number of occasions in a private capacity. He wanted to be in Gibraltar for National Day with his family. He wanted to show his family what the National Day Carnival was all about. We have a Foreign Secretary in his private capacity in Gibraltar on National Day. That shows you how special a relationship that James Cleverly has with Gibraltar is.
It's always been suspected by some in Gibraltar that the naval base is actually all that's important to the British government. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't. I think the naval base is important, just as the RAF base, the airport, is important. But the whole package is what matters, because you can't have a naval base without Gibraltar having self-determination. You can't have an RAF base without the people of Gibraltar having the ability to control their future and their destiny. So that's why, for me, as someone who sits on Keir Starmer's front bench, having that support for all our overseas territories to assert their right and your right as a nation to choose your own future really matters. And certainly from what I've seen today in National Day, the people of Gibraltar want to continue to be British, want to continue to enjoy those strong bonds. And as someone who represents a military city back in Britain, whose strong bonds with Gibraltar go back many, many generations, when I represent the home of the Royal Marines, the spiritual home of the Royal Marines, who proudly display Gibraltar on their cap badge, this isn't just a fleeting association. This is something that matters, and it should continue to matter to whoever forms the next government in Britain after the next general election. And there will be no change in our support for Gibraltar. And what that importantly means is no change, no loopholes for any negotiations that may be going on between Gibraltar, the United Kingdom, Spain and the EU in coming up, because our support for Gibraltar is not going away. And we need to make sure that you get the right deal for you as a nation, so you can continue to be strong in the future.
Ross, it's been my first proper National Day and sadly my last National Day. But
as governor, you might come back.
I might come back in the crowd, but it's been wonderful actually to see everybody coming out and enjoying the day. I mean, I've always seen National Day as a family day, and that's what you've seen in the crowd today. And what's actually taken my heart away is to see a lot of the Moroccan community enjoying National Day after the terribleness that's what's gone on in Morocco. And we came back, the Chief Minister and I came back from the Mass down at Europa last night, and we had the vigil in Convent Place, and just brought home to me that connection between Gibraltar and Morocco. And as the Chief Minister said in his speech, Morocco looked after Gibraltar when the chips were down for Gibraltar. And now I'm really glad to say that the GHA and others are operating to help out Morocco when Morocco has decided what it needs. And that really does show the closeness between Gibraltar and Morocco.
The Labour opposition are in exactly the same position in support of Gibraltar's interests as the current Conservative government. So anyone that's tempted in Madrid to think a change of government in the UK will make any difference, think again. They're wasting their time. What we want to do is to get this over the line as soon as possible. It's when we've been meeting businesses in Gibraltar, citizens in Gibraltar, everybody wants an end to the uncertainty. And that's what our job is, to do that. And that's why actually I was really pleased to see James Cleverly, the Foreign Secretary here, albeit in a private capacity. But the fact is he dipped out from his holiday because he wanted to see the people of Gibraltar on the ground. And he's a massive ally to us too.
So Bob, before we go, I must ask you very, very quickly, general election in the UK next year. Will you stand again?
I've been reselected for my newly revised constituency. So insofar as anything can be expected in politics, that's my intention. And I promise you I'll be working for Gibraltar, whatever the outcome of any general election.
That's good to hear.